Well, hello again, Divas. I am continuing the work on the backs of the booklets. I have a whole bunch of challenges here that we are going to start to look at. I wanted to show you how, let's see, on the hymnals that I was using, this is how, this stuff, the interfacing just sort of soaks right into the background of the books. And it's not quite dry yet, so you still see some little bit of wet spot, but it really gives a solidness to the back that it didn't have before. And you can easily have a nice solid book when you're finished with it. At least I think so. So it does kind of disappear, and it lays so flat it almost melts into the book pages underneath it. So big ones, little ones, fat ones, skinny ones, I've been able to work on. So right now I want to show you a challenge that I've come across, and I want to see if you agree on how to change it. Okay, so this was the Lang calendar envelope. I cut off, let's see, how did it sit? I cut off the long end at the bottom, and then I went and I cut off the two sides. So now I have two complete pieces. And I thought, well, you know, I can't fit this. It's like 14 or 16 inches. I couldn't fit it the whole width into my paper cutter, so I would have to do something with it. I decided to cut off part of the bottom right along that red edge of the picture. I want to use the picture, and I think I want to I want to use this flap. It could be a tall and skinny book, maybe, and part of this could be the backing, part of the backing. Another idea, and I can use whatever I can cut of this to make the back. I have these skinny pieces. Oh, good, they're colored as well. They were attached along the inside of the Lang calendar cover. Oh, got these really cool strips. I know I can use that in whatever I'm doing here. This one may, oh yeah, okay, it's got some prettiness to it. So, see, it's got some of the color on the inside. So I'm going to try to rip that off. Now, I like big, bulky books. So I have no problem with it being big. But I want it taller than wider. And so I need to get this in the cutter, which is why I took some off of the bottom. Now, this is the piece that I cut off the bottom. Really, all it said was artwork by Kelly Rae Roberts. Her name is across the top as well, and I'm going to cover that with some decoration when I do the cover. So what I want to do is I'll use this piece as maybe some I don't know, there'll be pieces of decoration inside, and I'll put this piece with her name on it on the inside cover as well. So I know, remember, in my old age, what the artwork came from. So I now have to cut the front the size I want. Okay. And I want this flap. I really love this flap. I want to keep it that way. And I thought about making this way so that this flap is still in the center. This little bump, it would still be in the center. It would make a nice addition. So, cutting off the bottom, I can now fit this in. Alright, and I'm going to line. I need to change the blade soon because this is really getting dull. I've been cutting cardboard here in and out and upside down. Here we go. Oh, when my mom called, I prepared her with, I said, Mom, you know I'm in your dining room, right? You know, I've got it full of junk journal things like I had said I was going to do. You don't have anything planned for the next few weeks, do you? As far as I know, she does not. So, we shall see, shan't we? Alright, so I am going to... This kind of seems a little off. I really hate when that happens. A little, by the bottom, I'm trying to line it up according to the stripe at the bottom, as well as the color here. I'm going to push it in just a little bit inboard here. Oh, you know, I could do that too. I could score it on the inside and bend it, and then I'd have at least half of a back, but I don't think I want to do that. I'm not going to do that with this one. I did it with the other one. I'm not going to do it with this one. So, okay. It's getting a hard time going through these layers with the lid at the top here, with the flap, right? When I'm ready to use this, I can cut that off, and that can be a tab on the top, just like the tab, you know, an opposite one on that end. All right, let me move that piece of paper. So now I have what I want for the front cover, and I have the flap right dead center. I need to fix that a little bit, but isn't that going to be a fun, something fun on there? You could also cut it off and put it in someplace else in the book if you'd like. And I'm definitely going to cover up the 2018 with some kind of decoration. So now what I need to do is cut the back the same size. Now, is there anything on the back I want to keep? I kind of like this end of it. So can I, if I do that in the very center, no, I don't need to do that. What I'd like to do is this. Alright, I'm going to turn it over and mark it. Up here, I'm going to make it square. Everything is competing for space here, because even on a big dining room table, I'm still having to compete for space. Alright, I'm going to make a mark. Could do it with pencil, but that would be too easy. Over here. Okay. And I also want to cut this off at the bottom. So keeping it even, I'm going to draw this at the bottom. There we go. There. Very nice. Alright. So now I can either use the scissors, or my knife, or the paper cutter. This is still the quickest and easiest and most accurate way to do it. So I line the edges up with where I want it cut. You can see the dip here, and I can see the dip in down here. So I'm going to go up and back. Very easy for one-sided there. And now I have a piece of card for another addition within the journal. Alright, I'm going to make sure this is lined up right and cut that off. Right, I don't need this piece. I'm going to chuck that. You can't save everything, can you? I can't. Alright, so now I have a front and a back. That little, that doesn't bother me. Maybe I can have something sticking out through the back there. Like, I don't know. Paper clip something onto the back that way. I don't mind that at all. Alright, so we have the front, we have the back, and now we need the spine. So what I was thinking is, remember that bag? This was the bottom of the bag. It is made out of like a ripstop type of fabric, and I don't really care about that. I don't even mind this red, this purple reddy stuff showing. I don't want it this wide though, obviously. So how wide do I want it? How wide do I want it? Let's see. If I do it on the inside, I can put a piece of the tag board, maybe one of these strips in between. It'll make a nice big journal, won't it? It's the right length. It's already going to be at a consistent width because that's how I cut it off of there. At least that's what it seems like. Where's my ruler? Inch and a half. Yeah, that's my mother's phone. And a little less than an inch and a half, but it's only a skosh off, and this is a junk journal after all. So that's going to be my back with the purple membrane showing through in between. I like that a lot. All right, so now I'm going to let's see. I want to cut this off even. Let's see. I cut the bottom off. It had like a sewn edge, just like this one. So I cut that off of the bottom, and I'd have a nice crisp edge there. How tall do I need it? Oh, it's not a nice crisp edge at all, is it? Can I use this on the cutter? I don't know. Let's try. Let's try. All right, I have... it's not going to be even in any way, shape, or form, I have a feeling. Oh, perfect. See, you just experiment, you play. That's what a junk journal is for. So now, how about the length on the other end? Let's cut off the length on the other end. All right, come on, get underneath the lip. Let's cut off the length on the other end. How long do we need it? I think I'm going to just make it longer than this piece by some. I can always trim it down. So what I'm going to do is cut the end off. I can use that for something else. Maybe the back to a different journal. All right. Just taking my sweater off. Getting warm in here now. All right, so I want a nice straight edge. So now I have a straight edge at the top and the bottom, pretty much. I want a nice straight edge on this side, so I'm going to bounce it up against the bottom. And this looks crooked, but that could be just the way I cut it. Sure. Let's get it to look. It could be not straight in the grain either, and that's what I'm seeing is weird. All right. Alrighty, so that's straight. I want the other side straight as well. How wide do I actually want the back? I want it much wider than this. I want it at least that wide, I think. To there. I can do that. There we go, and that strip can be used for another journal. So here we go. We have this. This is not going to have a problem at all. I'm going to flip this way. I'm just going to put glue on the back of here. Oops, flip that up. Don't glue that down. But from here down, or is it going to be at the bottom or the top? I have to decide whether that flap is... It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be here because it's just the back. I'm not going to have a flap on the middle of the spine. So I'm going to cut that off. It will be a tab. All right. Doesn't matter. All right. Am I doing this straight for you? Not sure. And like I said, it's a junk journal. I'm going to make sure the glue gets all the way out to the edge. And You don't have to have so much coming through the opening here. I'm going to swirl this around. Yeah. I don't think you can have too much glue. Turn it around. And maybe since that is fairly square, I can just sort of eyeball it. Ooh, the words. Yeah, you noticed that before I did, didn't you? All right, I'm going to cut off as much of the words as I possibly can. That's the way to do it. And that'll be to the back anyway, because the front will be on this side, the back will be on this side. And I don't think it'll be a total problem, and if not, it'll give it character. Okay, so the front, I'm going to glue the front on, and I'm going to keep it very, very close. I'm going to flip the flap up. And I'm going to level that up across the bottom. See, at the bottom of my cutting board I have a nice little thing there. As long as I put this on it when I glue it down, what I'm going to do here, at least this stuff doesn't, the glue doesn't bleed through it like it does the interfacing, and this will never will never soak through. Alright, so here we go. I'll pull the flap back this way until I get it straight on there, because I don't want to glue that down. Let's see if I get this straight across the bottom. Yeah? Pull this down. Yeah? It's not wide enough at the top. There we go. It looks to me like the spine is just a half a hair shorter, so what I'm going to do is pull this down. I want the top, the very top, to be the best. The best. I can always trim a little tiny bit off the bottom, but I want the top to be the best. And I want this gap in the middle to be even. Yep, fingernail width apart. That's what I want. Alright, now I'm going to do it with the back. And move my plate over here. Alright. That's slightly smaller than that. Well, and I make sure that there's no flaps on this, so I'm not worried about that. I just have to get this all glued up. And then I will washi tape it together. And here we go. Let's get this all lined up and even and straight on the bottom against the bottom line, and that's not going to be a happy moment here, is it? That is the most difficult thing. Getting everything all nice and even, because if it's not, it's going to do the hokey pokey on you. You try to get the gap even. You try to get the tops and the bottoms on a nice straight plane. It doesn't appear that the cover is on a straight a plane as the back. This could have been slimmed off a tad here, and I think that would, I'm just gonna, oops, I'm gonna slim it down on that side. I'm gonna peel it up a second and just skim off some. going from nothing to something on this end. And that angle will be much better. Even it up. Put this down on the same even level. Scoot it in. Oh, you know. Put it down, scoot it in. Make it even and level. Are you going to do it? Yeah, the other part is this is a little bit long on this side. See, my paper trimmer, I don't think the paper trimmer is as precise as just measuring it and cutting it, to be honest. All right, now these two are on the same plane. Here we go. That's better. Same plane. The gap between them is not bad at all. It's the same all the way. That's a little bit gappy. Oops. That's the trickiest part. I think it'll be fine. Okay, I think that will be fine. Do you see what I did? So now I'm going to see if I can get the washi tape across without getting it glued down in place somewhere. There's glue there. I'm going to do that in 4 places. Can you see that down there? Yeah, you can. All right, now it'll be sturdy enough to stick together when I fold it the other way. And now I'm just going to make sure everything is nice and tight. Okay. And I'm going to take the extra pieces, clip them together, and so that I know I can use them with this journal and the innards, so to speak, of the journal. Okay, I'm just going to clip all the extra pieces together, and I'm going to clip it to the back. To there, it's taller. All right, so I'm going to set this aside until it's dry, and we'll start with another one that I've been thinking about. All right, what if you have a stack of notebooks from the dollar store that you would like to use? All right, I don't know the back. Let me see. Let's take a peek at that and measure the back that I would need, right? So I would need at least, let's go from the top, it's easier to see. I would need at least an inch. I would need at least an inch. So therefore I would need a back that's about 1.5 inches. I would need 1.5 inches, almost 2 inches to the back to make it a nice, easy sew. So what I'm going to do, and this was an old college-lined notebook that had a spiral bound on it. It's got nice aging on it. And it was for, you could put the papers in a 3-ring binder. For some reason, I never threw it out. Even though the papers were long gone. So, all right, that size across is a good size for a bottom. I want this to be my cover, and it's actually an awesome cover, except that there'll be a hole in the bottom, but we can cover that up, can't we? I think so. Can't we cover that up? It looks to me like, let's take the biggest book, the one in the center, and check it out against this. I don't want it peeking out the top or the bottom. If I put it against the bottom, I still have a smidge at the top. And I can leave an edge here, and if I cut it along here, it will be right exactly where those the holes are. All right, I love the color blue. That bright blue is kind of cool with that, and I like the inside. So what I want to do, one side at a time. I'm only going to cut one side at a time here because I don't trust it. I'm going to cut it, just mark it on the inside. I'm going to mark it on the inside, okay? It's pretty, top and bottom here. Let me see. How many inches in do we need it? All right, I don't want to go any less than that. What's the measurement? This bothers me. I can't wait for my new tripod to come in. I can't stand seeing this leg in the shot all the time. It's annoying. And it's banging my ruler on it. I don't have a place to put an overhead camera right now, so that be it. When you measure, don't forget, you need to measure from, see how it's got some extra space on the ruler before it gets to the first tick? You want to measure from that because sometimes the edge of it gets crunched or whatever. And this is the very edge. I'm not using the curve. I'm using the farthest part out. So this is 5 5/8. So I'm going to make a little dot there. I'm going to come down into the middle here. Do another mark at 5 5/8. I'm going to make even a fourth. I'm going to make a third one and then a fourth one so that they all come out. This one I want close to the bottom. I am going to mark that line. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4 dots. I'm going to connect the dots. La 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 la. I heard you thinking that too. Connect the dots. La 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 la. All right. I am going to take my heavily used paper cutter. Come on, move over there, glue. Try to get it in there nice and firm. Ay, 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 ay. There we go. Now, is that going to be a good cover for the 4 of them? I'm going to see. In the middle. Check it out. Check it out. Here we go. It completely covers the books. That's what I want. Sticks out a little bit over the edge and it has this cool rounded edges. I want to do the same thing with the bottom half, the second half. So I'm going to take this, turn it around. Do I want this on the outside or the inside? It's got really nice age. I kind of like that for the outside of it. Yeah, why not? So I'm going to line this up. Come on, stay out of the way, would you? I'm just using the pad underneath for a base. All right. I'm going to take my pen, draw it on the inside. And then I'll take it back to the cutter. It seems that the holes aren't in the exact same place because this is coming out in the middle of the hole. That I do not like. But what choice do I have at this point? Unless does this. No, I want the rounded edge and I don't want to have to do the corner rounder to get it. All right. I have corner rounder punches, but if you've got this already here, already available, it's easier when I stood over it. Pressure on it is, it does not like it. All right, so now I have the back and the front. And, right, yep, the back and the front. I wanted this to be this way, but now I need the corner. All right, this one's gonna have a hole at the top, but who cares? Who cares, right? It's got its curvy edges here. And it's got that. Now I need a spine, and I decided it was going to be, what, 2 inches? I'm going to go back to this. This is already the same exact width. I really don't want that in the top of the spine. So, do I dare to trim that off with this wonky paper cutter? Yeah, I'm struggling. Struggling here. Here we go. All right. So I'm going to measure 2 inches. And right here, 1, 2. Be right here. And right here. That should be enough of a tick to get the 2 inches straight. And again, I've got to do it with the paper cutter. Now sometimes, if you start on the inside of it and pull, I'm going to stand up. So if I can get some leverage on that dull blade. I could use the other one, couldn't I? It's probably no better. I have to find my blades. All right, that's enough of this. With the heavy cardboard, this isn't going to do. Will my other paper cutter do? Probably not. It's not as oh, am I surprised? Ta-da! And I have more tag board to use for something else. Or, you know, dividers within the project or something. All right, so I'm going to put the one away. All right, so here's the back. What are we going to use? Top, back, and front. What are we going to use to put in between the two? What are we going to use? Do we use... I still want to see this blue. Right, so I'm going to cut it on the 4th line this time. If I trim it back again, that's fine too. You're getting bigger spines. That's on the 3rd line. No, it's not. Right? 1, 2, 3, it's on the 3rd line. I don't want to do this for other backs. Cut this piece out. Let's cut this part out. Somebody's bound to notice that. Right. Stop it. Yeah, it can't be on this one. It has to be on this one. There has to be 3 in between. Yep. Has to be on this one. Need a wider patch here. Now, this is fairly inexpensive. You can buy it by the yard. I also know that if you go to craft store, charity shops, things like that, resale shops, you're going to find some. Pretty sure you're going to find some. All right, back over there. Oh, let's see now. I want this on the inside. All right. For now, I'm going to cut it longer. Move that out of the way. I'm going to get this centered in the center. I'm going to glue it down, center it in the center. Okay. All right. Again, I could smear this with the paintbrush or with my finger. You really do want to get it all the way out to the edges and... Okay. Now, to get this dead centered on, I have those lines to follow, and this is a 2-inch wide piece. So, I can fit it perfectly in the center. I still have those lines in the inside. All right. Wet washcloth. So now what I want to do is I want to put on the front and the back. So, like I did before, I'm going to glue up the interfacing. I'm going to line that bottom up with square on my mat. It's awesome because you can see through the interfacing. Okay, I'm going to line this up to make sure that it lines up right along the edge of my mat, and that should give me an even spacing right down the center in between the two. I like that. So far so good. I'll do that with the opposite side as well. This one I cut on square. Apparently I make this mistake so you don't have to. How about it? Okay, where did I get the booklets I'm going to use for the insides of this? I got them at the dollar store. I liked the colors, so keep an eye out on at the dollar store for stuff that you can use. All right, so there we go. That looks pretty even to me. And again, we have our washi tape, and this is like masking tape, but it does not pull up any. That's pretty. That this tape is pretty. Could easily go with those notebooks too. All right, anyway, here we go. Okay, here we go. I want to move this over. More on the one side. All right, now I'm going to pick it up. Everything stays in place. Wipe this off now. Remove the glue. All right. As this dries, it's on to the next project, right? I'm going to go from this side and make sure I have a nice even crease in there. I'm going to rubber band these together, and I'm going to rubber band the extra blue pieces of the notebook with it, so that way I know to which they belong. All right, since the cover is wet, I'm just moving that over to the side. So let's see another dilemma. Another fun dilemma we can use. I think part of the fun of junk journals is no two ever will come out, this pretty much will come out the same. Pretty much. What I have here is I want to change this a saltwater taffy box into a journal. Just for fun. It could be like for traveler's notebooks. And I was wondering, how can I leave the flap on the front and make it seem like, and come from the back and put a clasp on it on this end? I don't really like the clasps to come all the way up to the front, because if there's a button or something on there, you put it on a shelf with your other books and something's gonna bump that and it's gonna pop it off, or even with the rivet, sometimes it still does weird things. So I wanted to make this part the hinge and this part to be a flap that something can tie into. So I cut down the inside of the box, so I have the two flaps coming up. It's now not the lid anymore, all right? And in order to do that, let's see. I think it's gonna be too bulky, so I'm gonna cut off these two tabs. All right. And with this, I'm just gonna use our X-Acto knife, I think. It's thick, it's really heavy. And if I use the paper trimmer, I do not have a heavy-duty blade for it. And apparently using my scissors makes things all verhutzt. Oh, that's Dutchy for messed up. Pennsylvanische Deutsche. Messed up. Verhutzt. That's 3. I think last time I needed 4 to get through. I think it's off. Yay! Off at the end. So let's see what we can do about that. Ta! Alright, I'm going to do that to the top. Isn't that fun? It has saltwater taffy on it. Alright, just lining it up with the edges of the covers. Alright. Alright. 3. Oops. Well, that went right through, so yeah. It's just the very top that gives me a problem. Here we go. Well, Philly. All right, so we have our lid. This would be neat for a traveler's journal for the seashore, wouldn't it? All right, so now I have a box like this. Should I open the back all the way up? I think at least this part of the flap needs to come open too in order for me to use any of the pages. So, yeah, can you tell I'm just working it as I go here? All right, I'm ripping that off. I'm ripping the other side. I'm not going to cut it this time. Although if I wanted to keep it sturdy, I could. All right, so let's test it again. All right, so with both of those, tuck these in. Tuck these in. All right. Now, it wouldn't be bad, but now it won't lay flat. So I do need to undo these edges and release the top and bottom pieces here. All right, there we go. So now I can glue the bottom of the box to the lid, and that will be our spine. It'll be a very thick spine. It will be a very thick spine. So we will have to find an ingenious way of poking the holes in it. Oh, I got an idea. Before I glue the lid on, I can use this as my sewing spine and then glue it all in after I poke the holes and use this as my spine. Now I do need my pencil, wherever it decided to go, because I'm going to erase this at times. Spine. If I can spell. Okay. sew down, then glue to back of lid. Alrighty, I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to sew the signatures in and then glue it down here. See, there's more than one way to do this. And I'm going to put this as spine, back, glue here. Ta-da! All right, now what about the rest of the flaps? I don't need these extra flaps on the edge, so I'm just going to take my scissors and cut those off. All right. I'm going to do it on both ends. No, I do not have any insides ready to make with this. But we'll do that in the next piece. All right, there's the spine. We decided that is the spine. All right, the 1941-01 at the top. Probably got it in 2001. That's probably how long I've had it. So that'll be straight up if I even decide to use that. What flaps do I want to keep? Do I want to do it this way? No, that's too big of a flap, or this is too big, one or the other. Do I want a tuck spot here, or do I want one just here that I can stick stuff in? I prefer that one. So I'm going to take the big ends off as well, which will make it easier. Oh, I need that end. I need that end, didn't I? Didn't I say that? Didn't I say that? To make it more box-like. Because I'm going to come around from the fastener. I'm going to start from, I'm going to put an elastic band coming out of this piece before I glue the two together. I'm going to put in a hole in this piece and do the elastic band so that I can put it over the whole thing like this. I do not need the flap unless I use the flap as an inside flap. That's what I'm going to do. All right. Fold up. Fold up flap. Leave loose. I do not need the fold up flap on the top. I'm going to trim that off. I can use these white pieces for any journals. They're not specific, so I'm moving them over. Trim it off just a little bit more. Evenly. All right. All right. Then I'm going to make a note here. I guess I should measure halfway, huh? What is the halfway measure on this? Let's start at the crease. Halfway measure would be, it is almost 9. It's like half of 9.5 would be 4 3/4, and then it's half of a quarter. So I'm going to put it right here. That it looks like the center, doesn't it? Right here. I was close. I had it right next to it. All right. Pull elastic. Loop. Binding. Through. Comma. Then spine back glue here. So a lot of times you can have an elastic loop that runs the whole way around. If I sew the spine sew the signatures onto here, and I put the loop in the back here, right? With the loop hanging out, the elastic loop. Then glue the spine and the signatures into that. Okay? This flap will just be a flap that folds up. This will then close like a box. And the elastic band that's here will wrap completely around and hold it together this way. I like that. I like that. Okay. All right. I've never done this before. This will be interesting. Okay, so far that's that. I'm going to clip all this stuff together. And this is going to be awaiting. This is going to be awaiting signatures, because that's the next step for this. See, sometimes it's not as cut and dried as do all the backs, do all the fronts, do all of thises and that's. Not clear. All right, I love this thing because it has 2 windows, and this is a Jane Davenport item. The little head vase that she had all her watercolor water brushes in. But I can't use it like that. So how do I do that?